Something that's ironic about the Bible is in the book of Judges, judges are more like tribal leaders than they are like someone with a gavel that would judge in the courtroom. There was a man and his name is Samson. And if you've never read the book of Judges, but you've grown up in church or even been around church a little bit, you've probably heard of a guy in the Bible that's like really, really strong and could fight a lot of people and was just known for his strength, abnormally strong, said to be the strongest man that's ever lived. Well, that's Samson. But the irony is that he's probably the worst judge, like the worst character, the worst one actually following God, and just not a great man or role model outside of his strength to follow. But I think the story of Samson can teach us a couple really neat things. So let's hop right into it. If you're just joining me for the first time, then my name's Logan, and this year I'm reading through my entire Bible in a year with the hope that we can grow in Scripture together. So if you want to join me on that journey, then be sure to check out the description of this video to learn more. In Judges 15, this is part of the reading that we did today, it talks about how Samson, he took vengeance on the Philistines. So to catch you up, basically, God had seen his people crying out to him and they were being ruled over by the Philistines. So God picks a man from birth, and his name is Samson, to basically be the one to defeat the Philistines. That's his purpose on earth. But as we can see, Samson, first he marries one of them, and then he gets upset with them, so he destroys all of their wheat and grain, and then they get mad at him, kind of rightfully so, because he destroyed all their grain, and they come to fight him. But this is what it says in Judges 15. But the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Samson, and he snapped the ropes on his arms as if they were burnt strands of flax, and they fell from his wrist. Then he found the jawbone of a recently killed donkey. He picked it up and killed 1,000 Philistines with it. Samson said, "With the jawbone of a donkey I have piled them in heaps. With the jawbone of a donkey I have killed 1,000 men." When he finished his boasting, he threw away the jawbone. What I think is so interesting about that is oftentimes in our lives, we find something that works and then we cling to it. Now, what actually delivered Samson from his enemies? Was it a jawbone? Or was it that the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him? And that is what enabled him to have strength. See, he threw the jawbone. I think a lot of times in church, if we had done something like that, we would go take the jawbone, frame it, and put it on our stage as, look at what this man did with the jawbone. And we point to things that aren't God, and we cling to things that aren't God because they're good or they're good enough. Following this battle, the next thing that we really learn about Samson is that we see him continually to fall because of sexual lust. So first he falls by marrying a Philistine, part of the people he was supposed to be destroying. He actually marries into them, which isn't good. And then later on, he starts sleeping with a woman named Delilah. And the story's really odd because she'll go to him and cry, "Samson, tell me the secret of your strength." And then coincidentally, Philistines show up to basically arrest and kill Samson. And then she did weird things, like she would tie him with freshly rope or braid his hair into, the bed frame or whatever, and he would just jump up in his strength and overpower the men. Well, he told her that his strength came from his hair. Remember, he took the Nazirite vow, which basically he was a vow he wasn't going to cut his hair at all throughout his life, and that's why the Lord blessed him with strength. So when she cut his hair, the Lord withdrew his spirit from him, and then he was killed. But what's so interesting about this story is you would think Samson would figure it out. You would think, just reading the story, like, man, how does he not see this coming? Because each and every time that he tells her the secret to his strength, Philistines come to attack him. And instead of getting out of this toxic relationship, we see that Delilah is basically hammering Samson on and on and on about, hey, give me the secret to your strength, and manipulating him. If you really loved me, then you would do this for me. I think the issue is that Samson, he kind of messed up dating, if you will. In dating, and this is not a me, this is a wiser men that have taught me this, because I'm a single man and obviously I'm not successfully married at this stage in my life. It begins with connecting spiritually, connecting emotionally and then connecting physically. And a lot of times in our culture, we connect physically first, which allows us to be blinded by extremely red flags. These red flags are obviously bigger than others, but it still blinds us to not being able to see the true characteristics of a person. Anyways, I hope that helps you learn a few things from Samson. He's a really neat character study, but he's definitely not someone that I think we should model our pursuit of Christ after. He does come back to Christ a while later. It says after she cut his hair, after it grew back, he regained his strength and the Lord was able to use him once again. But it kind of leaves us with the question of, man, yes, the Lord used him powerfully at the end of his life, but imagine if he had stayed faithful throughout his life. The Lord's sovereign plan still happened and still occurred, but Samson's story could have looked a lot differently if he had chosen to purely and purposely follow God instead of following after his own desires of his heart. Anyways, I hope this builds your faith. If you want to see more videos just like this, be sure to subscribe in the link below, and I'll catch you back here tomorrow as we continue to go through the Bible together.